Welcome to our deep dive, into the world of cybercrime. And today we're looking at how much it actually costs.
Yeah, it's a big topic, right? Like when you hear these numbers, it's kind of hard to even wrap your head around it.
It really is.
Yeah.
So Cybersecurity Ventures predicts that by 2025, global cybercrime costs will reach $10.5 trillion annually.
Wow. Yeah, $10.5 trillion.
That is a crazy number.
It's mind-boggling, isn't it? Like if cybercrime were a country,
Yeah.
it would have the third largest economy in the world.
Wow.
Bigger than the GDP of China.
And that's just in a few years.
I know, it's growing so fast.
Those figures are from Steve Morgan,
Right.
editor-in-chief at Cybercrime magazine.
Yeah.
And they predict that by that same year, 2025, cybercrime will actually be more profitable
Oh.
than the global trade of all illegal drugs combined.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's wild. So let's break it down a little bit.
Yeah.
What makes cybercrime so costly and what is driving this crazy growth?
Well, the cost of cybercrime is not just about stolen money. Cybersecurity Ventures breaks it down into all these different categories, like damage and destruction of data,
Right.
stolen money, obviously lost productivity from businesses, theft of intellectual property, embezzlement, fraud.
Wow.
And then there are all the costs that come after an attack,
Yeah.
like forensic investigations, restoration of systems, and then the cost of reputational harm, which a lot of people don't think about.
Yeah, you don't really think about it until it happens to you, and then suddenly it's like, oh, this is a big deal.
Exactly. It's like a ripple effect that just touches everything.
Right. And it's not just big companies or governments that get hit either.
No, not at all.
Like individuals are victims too.
all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
I remember back in 2018, an FBI agent who specialized in cyber intrusions
Okay.
said that all Americans should expect that their data has already been stolen and it's somewhere on the dark web.
It's scary to think about, but it's probably true.
Yeah. So let's dive into some of the most frequent questions that we hear about cybercrime and how it's actually evolving.
Okay, sounds good.
What are some of the new sneaky tactics that cybercriminals are using these days?
Oh, there are so many.
I was reading that they're increasingly targeting things like routers, firewalls, VPNs,
Yeah.
these edge devices.
Yeah, edge devices.
Which are things that most of us use every single day
We do, and we don't think about them.
without even thinking about it.
Right. And that's what makes them so vulnerable.
So it's like the burglar finding an unlocked window,
Exactly.
like to breaking down the front door.
Exactly. They're looking for the easiest way in.
They are. And they're also getting more sophisticated with techniques like living off the land.
Oh, yeah, living off the land.
Bitch, man.
Which means they use the tools that are already on your system
Wow.
to carry out the attack.
That's really sneaky.
It is. It makes
Yeah.
it really hard for security software to detect.
Yeah, because it looks like normal activity.
Exactly. They might use built-in system administration tools,
Oh, wow.
to gain access to sensitive data.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So how has artificial intelligence, AI, changed the game for cybercriminals?
AI is a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can be used to make things more secure, but in the wrong hands, it's a very powerful weapon.
It's scary how powerful it is.
For example, we're seeing a rise in AI-powered deepfakes.
Oh, yeah.
You can get a voice call from your boss, and it sounds just like them, but it's not. It's a deepfake.
And how are you supposed to know?
I know, it's almost impossible to tell the difference anymore.
And I also read that AI is being used to create personalized phishing emails
Oh, yeah.
that are tailored to your specific interests
Absolutely.
and even your writing style.
Yeah, they can analyze your writing and make it sound like it's coming from someone you know.
That's scary.
It's very sophisticated.
So they're basically using our own information against us.
In a way, yes, AI is also being used for big data analysis.
Right.
So criminals can process huge amounts of information to identify targets and vulnerabilities.
So it's like they're using AI to do their homework for them.
Exactly. They're using it to find the easiest targets and the best ways to attack them.
That's kind of brilliant in a terrifying way.
It is. It's making cybercrime more accessible to people who don't have a lot of technical skills.
So the barrier to entry is getting lower.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay, so we've got sneakier tactics
Yeah.
and an AI arms race happening.
Right.
But let's talk about ransomware,
Okay.
because that seems to be a real nightmare scenario for a lot of people.
Yeah.
How big of a threat is it really?
It's a huge threat, and it's growing every year.
I know in 2023, the average ransom paid in Canada was $1.13 million.
Wow.
Canadian.
That's a lot of money.
And that's just the financial cost.
Right. the disruption that it causes can be even worse.
Especially for critical infrastructure.
Exactly. Like hospitals, energy grids, transportation systems.
It can really paralyze things.
It can. And we're seeing more and more attacks on those types of targets.
And I know ransomware as a service is becoming more common.
Yes.
Which is making it easier for criminals to launch these attacks.
And it is. It's a business model now.
It's terrifying that that's a business model. What are some of the other trends that you're seeing with ransomware?
Well, the tactics are becoming more aggressive. They're not just encrypting files and demanding a ransom anymore. They're stealing data and threatening to release it publicly unless they're paid.
So it's like double extortion.
Yeah, exactly. They're also contacting victims directly.
Oh, wow.
To put pressure on them.
So they're getting really personal with it.
They are.
Yeah.
And they're launching attacks that target a company's reputation.
So it's not even just about the money anymore.
No, it's about causing as much damage as possible.
Wow, that's scary. Speaking of bad actors, let's talk about state-sponsored cyber threats.
Okay.
Canada's National Cyber Threat Assessment names China, Russia, and Iran as the biggest concern.
Right.
What are their objectives?
Well, they all engage in espionage. They want to steal intellectual property and get access to sensitive government information.
Right.
They also want to disrupt critical infrastructure, influence public opinion.
Wow.
And in some cases, even carry out transnational repression.
So they're using cyber attacks to silence dissidents.
Yes, in some cases.
And we've seen examples of this, haven't we?
Ah.
Chinese hackers targeting Canadian government networks, Russian actors compromising global supply chains,
Yeah.
and Iranian groups using social engineering for espionage and to silence their critics.
Right. It's a very complex landscape with a lot of different players and motives.
It is. But it's really important to understand these threats.
It is.
Because it helps us to protect ourselves.
Absolutely.
Knowledge is power. So we've covered a lot of ground here in part one.
We have.
We've seen how cybercrime is costing trillions of dollars globally.
Yeah.
How AI is making attacks more sophisticated, and how ransomware and state-sponsored actors are posing a real threat.
It's a lot to take in.
But there's more to explore. In part two, we'll dive deeper into the concept of vendor concentration
Okay.
and dual-use commercial services,
Okay.
and how those make us even more vulnerable in this digital age.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's a fascinating and, frankly, somewhat unnerving look at how interconnected we are in this digital world.
It really is.